So, we've looked at rugby union, rugby league, golden oldies rugby, beach rugby. What else can we look at? Any ideas? How about Murderball?
An armoured wheelchair, a volleyball, and an athlete with a penchant for getting just a little bit physical. Welcome to the world of wheelchair rugby. It's one of the fastest, fiercest and least forgiving sports around. Also known as Murderball, two teams go hell for leather in 4-on-4 action on a hardwood court.
I'm already getting an idea of sheer brutality, people flying out of wheelchairs. First thing I've noticed though, the ball is not a rugby ball. It looks like, is Molten a volleyball? Not sure, but there's a difference. But I love the way the Trans World Sport, again, amazing. Armoured wheelchairs are just, this is going to be good.
Physical contact between players is not permitted, but between wheelchairs, it's a very different story. A score is made when a player holding the ball crosses the opposition's goal line. Teams are given 12 seconds to move from their half of the court into the opposition's and 40 seconds to attempt to score. Pace and movement are the name of the game.
Now, you think rugby players are tough. Imagine being flipped. Well, you might have had it when you've sat in a chair and someone's pulled your chair out, and you're landing back end on this hard floor. It does look brutal already. We continue. And there's clearly an audience for it.
Australia's Riley Batt is the world's #1 player.
I think a lot about the sport of wheelchair rugby would be, I guess, just the speed of it, the physicality, and it's sport. I love sport, and it's just the professionalism and the adrenaline I get out of the sport, what I love. If I didn't play sport, I don't know what I'd be doing today. I'd probably be in a mental institution, going crazy. So sport keeps me going and gets the adrenaline out of my system.
Wheelchair rugby is played by quadriplegic athletes, meaning those with a loss of function in both upper and lower limbs.
How do you play it? How do you move your wheelchair if you've got lack of function in your upper body? I can understand bottom, obviously, because you're using your arms. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Players are assessed into one of 7 classes, ranging from 0.5 points to 3.5 points, based on their level of functional ability.
Crunch.
Any team which takes to the floor may not exceed a combined classification of 8 points.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Everyone's got a point scale of their level of disability, and you must take up to a certain amount of points, or no more than a certain amount of points. That's a really interesting way of I suppose, keeping fairness, being able to include everyone as well. How cool is that? That's really good.
Australia's co-captain at the 2012 London Paralympics, Ryan Scott, was in a motorcycle accident in 1998 and is classed in the lowest functioning range of 0.5.
But he's still able to play. That's what's brilliant.
Around about C5 and C6, so I'm a quadriplegic. I've lost finger function, triceps, and I'm paralysed from my chest down. There's so much focus on all the things you can't do after your accident, and to be finally told you can do something and do it at a high level. Team sport was a big part of my life before my accident, mainly recreational and for fun with mates, but Yeah, once I got involved, you're travelling with guys who have been in that situation for a lot of years, so they can teach you things, and it's amazing what you learn from other guys outside of the rehab centre.
The Australian national team are amongst the leading countries in the world of wheelchair rugby. Following silver at the Beijing Paralympics, the green and gold went one better at London 2012, and in so doing they rose to first place in the world rankings. Since then, however, the United States have climbed back above them.
I wonder why the Americans, United States, are doing so well in the fact that they don't really play rugby, do they? I'm sure someone can explain this, why they have all of a sudden leapt above everyone else, even though rugby's not their game. Now, I know technically is it rugby? I don't know. It's a different ball. It's just a different style of rugby, I suppose. It's a way of including everyone. But I wonder why the Americans have taken the lead.
But for head coach and former international attacker Brad Dubberly, that's a small part of the bigger picture.
I had my accident when I was 12. I was bushwalking and on a trail I used to walk along all the time. Slipped and fell down a cliff and landed head first on a rock in a creek. So I broke 3 vertebrae in my neck and spinal cord was bleeding and that. So I was pretty young, but at the same time lucky it's opened a whole new life for me in terms of what I do now as an athlete, in terms of playing all over the world. I guess having something that I wanted to be involved in was crucial.
That's what's so wonderful about this story. It's the fact that their life has been turned upside down and they're still able to find something they can love and enjoy.
The Australian team came together to produce a peerless performance. The Aussie defenders, with pickers on the front of their elongated chairs, which are used for hooking onto and stopping opposition attackers, were watertight. On top of this, the Australian attack, led by Riley Batt, was ruthless.
There's some speed there. Go on, lad.
Culminated with a resounding victory over Canada in the final.
Oh, London was just amazing. For me, it was my 3rd Paralympics, and it was a very different feel. Not only did London put on a great event, they did a really good job at educating the people on what they were watching. Our sport's pretty unique, so when people turn up, they have a lot of questions on what's going on, but they turned up and they knew why things were happening behind the scenes, and that made it really good for us.
I think that's a really good point he's making. Now, he's talking about the 2012 Olympics in London and the UK. And the point he's making is, and I'm going through this now in the fact that I'm watching Union, League, going on to Aussie rules, and I will look at other sports later down the line. But it's how easy is that sport to watch as someone that's not seen it before. And it's brilliant to see that to see that obviously the BBC and whatnot were able to make it easy for people to understand the sport. And that's what it's all about, in getting people involved in different sports. Being able to understand is key, because if you're looking at a sport and you have no idea what's going on, are you likely to want to go and watch it again? Probably not. So fantastic, and maybe this needs to be the case in other sports, not just disabled sports, but all sports. Being able to explain to people that have never seen it before. Another little side note that was.
Having people who were educated on our game.
London was an amazing campaign for our team. Everything just sort of fell into place for us at those games. I challenged the team. From a coach point of view, our goal was to go out and win every single quarter throughout, and we did. And also to play every athlete in every game, which we also did. So the feel amongst the team was amazing.
That's great as well.
Everyone felt a part of it.
To be able to play everyone that turned up.
You think by now I would have had, been able to put it into words, but you just can't. It's just an amazing feeling of all the achievement and the hard work and sacrifice that not only ourselves have put in, our family and things like that to support us doing it.
Back home in the town of Port Macquarie on the New South Wales coast, Riley Batt is between training camps. Born Walking without legs and with webbed fingers, he used a skateboard to get around until he was 12, feeling wheelchairs weren't for him.
I'm desperate to know how his car was
Convinced
adapted
to take
for him
up
to
the sport
drive.
at school, Riley made it to the 2004 Paralympics aged 15. Today, an adrenaline junkie, he rides quad bikes and jet skis in his spare time.
I'm thinking, with people that have got a paraplegic, now I understand that some will kind of spiral downhill, but there's these sort of people are inspiration. These are real inspirational people that they're not letting what's happened to them get them down. And I love the fact that they've said he's a adrenaline junkie, because I'm thinking, well, actually, if they've gone through all this, then what worse can happen? Well, obviously there might be some worse, but what worse things can happen than what's already happened? So enjoy life, you know, and these seem to be doing that.
I think wheelchair rugby just makes the person you are today, or the person I am today, I should say. It's created a whole new career for me. I wouldn't have travelled around the world. I probably would have only been overseas once in my life if it wasn't for wheelchair rugby. It makes you strive for something every day. You wake up with goals and motivation, and that's what sport does, and that's what the game of wheelchair rugby does for me.
For someone looking to get into wheelchair rugby, Riley Batt would be a good starting point.
He's got little tiny doll shoes on his wheelchair. That's definitely the humour they've got. Look at his wheelchair.
Commonly referred to as the best player to have ever played the game, his teammates and coaches know he has the key attributes to succeed both physically and strategically. Tactics in particular are a crucial part of wheelchair rugby.
I don't know if it's okay me saying this, but the wheelchairs, because they've been modified, just remind me of Robot Wars. The metal robots driving in and crashing in and soaring and pickaxing at each other and flipping each other. That's just what it reminds me of.
As a player, Riley is second to none.
Oh,
That's
Christ.
a hard thing to say from my point of view. Is we're a team sport. You know, you've got the strength, speed, agility.
Toughness.
The way he can read a game, like he can already predict what's going to happen.
He certainly
makes
seems
it
just
feel
as
like
tough
he's
as the
even
normal
quicker than
game.
He actually is. He's such a student of the game. Like he's constantly looking to improve. To have an athlete with that function and ability is very rare, and thank God he plays for Australia.
Despite raising its profile with the feature film Murderball, wheelchair rugby players remain in short supply in Australia. A mixed gender sport, it's dominated by male players, though even with the help of government funding, few here in Australia have the luxury to do it without a second job.
The hardest thing is getting the numbers for our sport. So, where we've got probably 30, 40 players playing in our country, America probably have 1,000 plus players over there. So it is really hard to put together a massively strong team. But we end up doing it. We've got the funding and we've got the people around us that are helping us out.
To be doing well in the Olympics, you must be doing something right.
You can to be the best you can. So that's what we're lucky enough having. Yes, we don't have the numbers, but we've got the fantastic staff around us.
With the World Championships in Denmark lying in wait later this year, the Australian aim is simple: win it and regain the top ranking from arch rivals the USA.
Just a brilliant story.
To have a new athlete who's been newly injured, and show those sorts of athletes that life does go on after being injured, and there's opportunities like playing for Australia at Paralympics and World Champs available to you. Your life's not over, and then I suppose to be able to take them from that and see the journey to making a team and becoming leaders in their own right, or even away from rugby, is amazing.
If you want inspiration, then yeah, these guys have it. you know, their life turned upside down, and they're getting on with things. They're trying to enjoy their life. What a fantastic sport to be able to do it. And it just sums up what I've been saying and thinking about rugby in previous videos, in that it's all inclusive. You know, it doesn't matter what age you are, what sex you are, you know, your physical state, you know, your age. I don't know if I said age twice. Don't know. But it's all inclusive, and this is another example of it. Just wonderful. Just a wonderful story. Well, if you did enjoy, guys, you know what I say. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.